Hey everyone, it's Congressman Jamie Raskin coming at you from the Capitol Hill. And I'm calling out to all my friends in Maryland's beautiful 8th Congressional District. This is my favorite time of the week, Local Heroes, where we get to salute and celebrate the people that make life in Maryland's 8th District so extraordinary. And I've got an amazing local hero for you. My beloved friend, State Senator Susan Lee from District 16. And Susan is the majority whip of the Maryland State Senate, and she was first joined the Senate back in 2014 when I was in it, after having served 13 years in the House of Delegates. And she was the first chairperson of the Maryland Legislative Asian American and Pacific Islander Caucus, and she was also the president of the Women's Legislative Caucus. I wanted to bring her on because she's been doing some extraordinary stuff recently, including leading passage of the bill to ban ghost guns in the Maryland State Senate and in the General Assembly, working closely with Delegate Leslie Lopez and Attorney General Brian Frosh. What a critical, essential thing that is, and something that President Biden and the majority have been working on here in Congress. But not only that, she also got a number of strong laws passed in this session to better prosecute violent crimes against child abuse and neglect victims, to help victims of electronic stalking, to protect the privacy of student personal data and information, to protect all of us against identity theft, and to help people with severe developmental disabilities get quality self-directed care, enabling them to live with greater dignity. She's also been the lead sponsor of the Maryland Equal Pay for Equal Work Act. But in addition to all of that stuff she was doing in Annapolis, Senator Lee called me up with our friend Terry Learman and said, there is rising anti-Asian American discrimination and bigotry, and one way it is manifesting itself is in a witch hunt against Chinese American scientists who have suffered from a series of really aggressive investigations and prosecutions that have gone nowhere because they vanished into thin air. There was no evidence for the claims being made against them. So Senator Lee brought this to me and to my colleague, Representative Judy Chu, and we created the first roundtable hearing discussion about the problem ever in Congress, and we shined a light on a number of these egregious miscarriages of justice. So, Senator Lee, I want to thank you for doing such a great job representing Bethesda, Chevy Chase, Friendship Heights, Potomac, Rockville, Cabot John, Glen Echo, and I want to thank you for helping lead the fight against anti-Asian American discrimination, including in that so-called China Project, and everything you do to make life in Montgomery County and Maryland safer and better for everyone. You are our local hero. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Congressman Raskin. And thank you for your outstanding exemplary leadership in Congress and representing us so well, and especially our vulnerable communities too. And those that are underrepresented in the political process. You have given us a strong voice, and you are our sterling champion of democracy. So thank you for bestowing upon me this great honor, especially coming from you.
Well, you're very welcome. And this is really long overdue with your amazing work on everything from human trafficking, labor trafficking, to sex trafficking and domestic violence. You've been in the forefront of defending vulnerable populations. But I wonder if you would say a word to people about, what we discovered about these really aggressive and off-base investigations of Chinese American scientists, and where you think things stand now.
Well, we were so alarmed when we heard from the community that a lot of these top Chinese American scientists who are Americans, who have lived in this country for decades, and some maybe even born here, were the subject of an investigation. They were being charged with espionage, when all they were doing was doing traditionally customary practices that all scientists do, which is exchange information with other scientists. And that's how we came up with things like the HIV and all the medical treatments for that. It's because scientists exchange informations. And so they were arbitrarily targeted under something called the China Initiative. And also there was so much hate spewed by the last former President Donald Trump and those in the highest trust in office. And it was political rhetoric that unfortunately targeted and cast a wide net on an entire ethnic group. And so a lot of these innocent scientists were unfairly targeted. They had their careers ruined, their reputations ruined, their families devastated, and there was no one protecting them until you came forward after we asked you, after an alliance of scientists, of Asian, American, Pacific Islander leaders, civil rights leaders, a broad coalition to ask you to bring light on this unfair racial profiling and discrimination that has destroyed the lives of so many innocent scientists and really hurt and damaged science, and especially during a pandemic. So we had this congressional roundtable. Never before had we had that. So we thank you.
The scientists that you introduced me to and that I came to know are all over the country. A number were in California, but a number were right here in Maryland, and we're working with NIH and other federal installations. So this was a really important initiative, and I want to thank you for putting it on my radar. And I'm thrilled that we were able to help shine a light on what was taking place. Say a word, if you would, Senator Lee, about the broader context within which this is happening, because you've been out there, long before we started talking about that, you were talking about the problem of just episodic violence taking place against Asian Americans in our state. I think also the First Lady of Maryland, Mrs. Hogan, has talked about this. But tell us what that general climate was like, especially during the last administration, and where are we now?
Yes, during the last administration, they fueled a lot of really toxic rhetoric that manifests itself into violence and hate crimes against our Asian American Pacific Islander community, resulting in injuries and actually death too. We had some incidences even in our own district in Rockville, Maryland, where a home was attacked 3 times at least, and they thought it was a result of this racial profiling. And so we have been kind of the casualties of this hate that was spewed by former President Donald Trump, created a terrible toxic environment. But you know what? We've been able to fight back. Our Senate and House leadership, the Senate President Ferguson and Speaker Jones, they came forth to denounce this, but also help us in a General Assembly pass bills to fight hate crimes, and also bring this to the attention of not just all of Maryland, but to the nation too. But we really thank you for this, for the congressional roundtable you did, because never before was there any kind of hearing on the damage and the civil rights violations, only on the issue of espionage. So working with you and my state colleagues and our local colleagues, I think we were able to come together, to work together to fight hate and violence against our community.
Well, and I want to thank you for helping us articulate, a very sensible civil rights and human rights position today when there's so much trouble in the world. I mean, I have been very happy to take on the government of China about the Uyghurs and about human rights violations, but that's a government. You don't transpose that and blame it on all of the people of China, much less Chinese Americans, people who are US citizens who have Chinese descent or lineage. That's just deranged. And yet we have people who are just randomly attacking Chinese Americans or any Asian Americans at all, and they think somehow they're attacking the government of China when in fact they're just violating people's rights and committing crimes. And so I want to thank you for blowing the whistle on that early.
Well, thank you. Unfortunately, sometimes, even though we've been here, some of our families have been here for 3 or 4 generations and helped build America in the course of our America's history, I think we're still perceived as foreigners in our own country. And so I think that that perception, along with some of the rhetoric that was spewed by the former president, I think created that toxic environment. But it's up to us as public officials, and I thank you for doing that too, to come forth and denounce that and do something about it. And thank you
All
for
right.
that.
Well, look, you are a local hero with important things to say to our entire state, to our entire country, Susan Lee. I'm so proud to be your friend and to get to work with you on so many important issues. You're a model public servant. You are just about the most accessible and ubiquitous person in public life I've ever seen. So thank you for always being out there. And you are our local hero this Friday, May the 6th, for the entire week. And we're going to celebrate you and make you as famous as we can on our social media. And you're free to like it and send it on to everybody on your social media accounts too.
Thank you, Congressman Raskin, and thank you for the honor and privilege of this special recognition.